let's see what's going to happen on game 2, which is on Cloud Kingdom. To the top right of the map, we have the Mousesports player starting for Poland for his team and for Protoss. It is Mousesports Mana and his opponent cross positioned on this 2-player map at the bottom left, starting for Evil Geniuses, even though he's still using his Millennium tech here in this game, is of course Stefano. Wishes his opponent good luck, Zeszek, and let's see what's going on. Well played on Daybreak. They've known each other for a long time, played each other several times here. Yeah, let's see what Stefano's going to do here. And also what Mana has in mind. This is a map where you see a lot more Stargate openings these days. It's still a very good map for an Immortal push. It's also a map where a lot of Protoss players try to go into the late game. We've seen very long matches between Protoss and Zerg on Cloud Kingdom.
Yeah, we have seen a lot. That high ground in the middle of the map where the watchtowers are is where a lot of time you see those battles with the Broodlords, the Mothership. And controlling the watchtowers is really important. It's really tough for Pross to control those, though, because the Broodlords just give them so much map control, the Zergs, that is. I don't think we're going to see Mana try to go for an early push. It's not really his style in any matchup. I mean, he might catch you off guard with one of those 6 gates or something like that in Pross versus Terran, but in this matchup, he's pretty much the late game guy.
This is one of the maps where he tried a lot of, well, he had a lot of strategies on Cloud Kingdom when he was in Korea. He practiced with 4-gate openings as well, with +1 attack, went for a couple of attacks where he used the Wall Prism. We've seen him with the Immortal push. But you're right, a lot of times he was trying to go into the late game. He tried to play the macro game. And this is also one of the big arguments that you have currently going on in PvZ. We talked about this when we were at the Blizzard Cup. And if you just look at the win rates for both races, it's very even. Protoss players are winning a lot against Zerg. Zerg is also pretty strong against Protoss. I think they are roughly even at 50%. I don't know the perfect numbers, but both races compared to Terran are doing really well.
Yeah.
It's just the timings in the matchup that are really weird and looking a little bit silly, which a lot of players are not too happy with, which I can completely understand. Early on, Protoss really strong with the 2-base timings, can do a lot, and Zerg struggling to defend, especially against an imparting Immortal push. And then as soon as you pass this stage and are suddenly available to get the Broodlords out, Zerg is so dominant that it's really tough for Protoss to do anything about it. So that's what most players really hate about this matchup, that it's just divided into these two timings. And I can completely see why players are not too happy with it. At the same time, what's your opinion on that? You know how a lot of players say that StarCraft only evolves around the macro game? I find this so silly.
That's a weird thing to say.
But you know that, right? A lot of players who say like, if you can't play the late game, or if you don't win in the late game, then you're not a good player. Then you're just a cheeser hitting 2-base timings or whatever.
A win is a win, man. And people like to see long games. I feel like there are some really famous commentators, and one of them is Stamkowski himself, who used to talk about how players at all-ins didn't really have the same skill level as other players. But I think that this mindset kind of evolved around the idea of, well, my favorite player just got all in, and my favorite player is good in the late game, and he just got beaten. So I don't really feel like it's a statement that should be regarded as truth. To me, I think that what is a win is a win.
For me, it's always like, yes, of course, we want to see late games, and I want to see players having these epic, like, back and forth games where you just come back, you have a disadvantage. But the problem that I have with it is that a lot of players or a lot of viewers seem to think that if you beat someone with a 2-base timing attack or with a 1-base play, that you don't deserve the win. But the problem is more like the player who loses just played too greedy.
Yeah.
He didn't scout, he didn't see what was coming, and he played with an opening that gives him an edge in the later game.
What happens
because he cuts a few corners.
Yeah.
But if you're not able to defend in the early game, then that's a risk that you take and that you have to live with.
There's the Robo going down from Mono. We're going to see a similar opening to last game. But for me also, just to continue this topic for a little bit more, if there's a strategy that is scouted, that is an all-in that's really giving people problems. For example, the so-called 1-1-1 that was killing so many Prosses back in the day, and it's just one that you, even if you scout it, you can't defend it, then Blizzard will make an attempt to fix it. And that's a strategy that someone might say, well, I don't know, he keeps using the strategy, it's overpowered. That's something that eventually can be discussed. But in a situation like two barracks proxy ends up killing a Zerg player. It's like, well, you can defend that really easily if you know it's coming. You just have to scout.
Mm. I mean, there are a few things that are definitely wrong with the game now, and I feel that a lot of these issues are going to be solved with Heart of the Swarm. But Blizzard already announced that they're not going to wait until Heart of the Swarm until they make a few more changes. Infestors are still a little bit too strong, and I personally, I said it in the past before we had the last patch, I would really love Blizzard to, for example, just say, well, we reduce the damage output of the infested Terrans by a tiny little bit, make them a little bit more expensive, maybe like 5 energy, 10 energy. I feel this would already help a lot. It's not only about fungals, I feel, it's also the infested Terrans that could be a bit adjusted.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think there's a lot of experimentation to be had.
Well, right now we have also the time for Mana to go for the immortal push past a little bit because we have him with the Twilight Council on the tap.
He's not walling with gateways at his base though, so he could still go for some sort of blink stalker with immortal attack. But it's all about the infestor timing for Stefano. Last game he had the infestors out at a perfect time to deal with this.
And this is, of course, what you want. At the beginning, when you don't have the infestors, you are a little bit worried that your opponent might be able to just take you out. That's why you get a lot of units. And we had live against Parting with a very interesting strategy where on this map, he was from the beginning willing to sack his third base. He never fought at the third. He immediately built the Spine Cross at the natural because he knew it was coming. He knew that the Soul Train was on his way. And he just said, okay, I can't save my third, but if I crush your force with the earlier infestor attack, have them out to defend my natural, then I can still take the game. And this is kind of what happened. So very different timings that we have these days for players trying to deal with the strength of their opponent's race. With the Immortal push for Protoss, and Protoss on the other hand with this really, really strong late game composition with Brood Lords and Infestors, which every Protoss player out there just hates so much.
Yeah, this is very true.
Well, we have the push out now for Mana.
Yeah,
he wants to go into the third.
He does, and Stefano has that roach pressure once again, but this time, just like last game, he's going to run away. He's like, alright, well, you're not attacking me. I can't really trade you here. I'm going to try. Force Shield's pretty good. Those were almost parting level right there.
Yeah, has to be careful though with only 4 sentries. That's not a lot.
Yeah, and actually, he's going to have to cancel this Nexus, I think.
I think so too. There are too many units for Stefano already. And
this time he has the Lings. You know, last time he didn't have the Lings with it, but this time the Lings here means so much more. And in fact, he's going to get that Stalker, potentially not quite.
Yeah, takes down a few of those Zealots, but you can really see how Stefano is hitting the timings here. He identified with the Overlord and he was aware, okay, you're not going to push out with an Immortal push, you actually try to take your third base. If I have the units ready at your third, I can delay this. And the longer he delays the third base now, the better for him, because he's already on 3 bases. He has that economy. He has the harvest account to saturate them too. He's on 71.
Yep. Oh, that was a good force field trap on those roaches.
That was really well done.
But it's not enough to push this back, and Stefano gets further and further. He's actually making Spine Callers at home right now during this, because he's like, well, if Mana gets like 5 Immortals, you might move across the map and kill me before my Infestors are ready, so I gotta make sure I have some Spines to help out here. Another good group of Force Fields, and it looks like Mana will finally be able to secure his third Nexus.
Yeah.
Stefano is going for the Infestors, so Mana can rest easy here. His Force Field blocks the Nexus, though, temporarily.
Yeah.
Oh wow! If he loses that probe,
Stefano
oh wow!
going
He loses
in.
the probe.
And if you think about it, what we usually see on a map like this is an expansion between between 10 and 11 minute mark. Most Protoss players trying to take this a little bit earlier. On Daybreak, we had Mana going for the third base at 8:30.
Yeah.
So, in comparison to the first game, very, very late. And once again, with the cancel.
And he loses the probe again.
Ah, this is so annoying. Look at the timer here.
Yeah, this is not cost efficient if you look at the resources only, but considering that Stefano is making so much more money right now, he's also building the better composition. This is great for him to actually be able to trade like that. He's not going to be able to do it again. I feel like that's the end. But oh, look at this. The fourth base of Stefano is a little bit undefended right now. He's moving those Spine Cores over. This timing is to work out just right. Look at that. The Infestors come over just in time, and so do the Spines.
He doesn't even need the fungal here. He's pushing them back. Here comes the fungal.
Yep.
Nope, he doesn't even need it.
He's like, just gonna save his energy.
I don't need it. I can save the energy, exactly. So, Stefano able to delay the third base for Mana for a long time. Mana starting the third base at roughly 13 minutes, which is something that you never want to happen. And Stefano already had the fourth mining. He's going into Spire, into Hive. And Mana, still with the macro that he has, is going into double Colossus production now, We with extended thermal lens and +3 on its way. But this is still really, really dangerous and not at all how Mana wanted to start this game. Bottom left now, you also see more Zerglings, +2, +2. 3-3 will of course be started as soon as Hive is done. The upgrades line up nicely for for Stefano. Not perfect, but still pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good indeed. I feel like some of this strategy that we're seeing from Mana, this follow up, is very European. I don't see this too often in Korea these days as the double Colossus production because it's so powerful. Actually, it's so strong. But at the same time, if you get scouted or if your opponent starts to realize what you're doing, then I feel like you're very vulnerable to a potential Mutalisk switch. But even more so than that, just heavy Corruptor production. Just if you use the Corruptors you're making for Broodlords anyways, just to fight defensively and then make the Broodlords after you clean up the Colossi, that can be just such a difficult situation to be in as a Protoss.
If he deals with a Corrupt as well, I feel those Colossi can do a lot of damage. And if he wants to hit a pre-Broodlord timing, he needs them to break through the Spine Crawlers. There's just no other way. Well, if you think about it, there are also the Immortals, but it's just so much better if you can deal with the Spine Crawlers from a safe distance.
Yeah, we've got double Spire, by the way, for Stefano. He feels he's ahead enough that he can do that so he can start getting the upgrades a little bit faster while he's getting that greater Spire out.
88 Harvesters against 63. Apparently a few spikes to bring here with Mana. But Mana is now moving out. He has 4 Colossi already. The Corruptors are just now being built. And this is kind of the timing that Stefano wants to hit.
Yep, another Zealot run by. Looks like it's going to be totally shut down.
Yeah. There's nothing that he can do. A lot of Lings, very Ling heavy here, and this is of course something that those Colossi will be pretty happy about.
Very happy. Well, the Colossi versus Lings and Infestors only, that's exactly what they want to fight. Here they go, they're going for it. Blink is not quite ready. He doesn't have too many Stalkers though. He needs to make sure he uses all the Infestors to the best of their ability. One goes down, he's lost the Spines already, and Mana has a good opportunity here.
Yeah, really good attack. Even though he's behind the supply, takes down another Infestor, and those Spine Crawlers on the low ground, they will be attacked by those Colossi very soon. We also, one is down, was fungled in position here. The Stalkers have one job now, and that's to protect the Colossi.
Yep. Just continued fungals here. The Corruptor is giving high ground vision. Nice. Only gets one Stalker there.
Trying to circumvent the Spine Crawlers now to get into a good position at the back of the base and taking down the Harvesters.
This is pretty smart. I really like this because he can take out so many drones and also force the mining to be stopped. Stefano might consider taking another hatchery on the left side while this fight's going on so he can start seeing drones. But the Lings come in, and you know, if they were force sealed out a little bit better, he could have taken this fight so much easier. But now I feel like Mana may be a little bit too trapped, but at the same time, even after the Colossi go down, he has a lot of Stalkers left. The Lings are the big problem.
The Colossi gone, and that's the big issue here. The Lings were not force fielded correctly, Mana was not able to close the gap, and then his Colossi needed to stay and fight, and this gave the Corruptors a chance to take them down. The Stalkers tried, but were a little bit too late. This is so close though. Stefano lost so much in the last engagement, and Mana is now trying to carry the momentum into the third phase. But the Colossi are gone. He has to rely on the Immortals and the Stalkers.
Yep, Guardian Shield going up here again. He wants to make sure he can utilize those sentries to the best of their ability. A few more Infestors going down, and Mana has a supply lead here. He's pushing through. He's going to be able to blink onto these Infestors if he gets the opportunity now. Moving forward just a little bit more, he's got a great lead in army supply. The Broodlords are a problem. If they finish, the Spine Crawlers, though, look like they are not going to be able to position. He's actually just putting them in here to die.
Mana has the army here to push through, and he's really carrying this momentum into his opponent's base. A big problem is that the Broodlords are now on their way. We have all those Stalkers with Blink. It all comes down to the Fungals and how the Broodlords are going to approach this battle.
Yeah, another Infestor goes down, but the Spines finish here. Mana needs to pull back, I feel, and take out the fourth. Stop fighting against these Spines. If he takes out the fourth base, he kills 2 hatches, and then he can transition really easily to his own fourth. But the Broodlords are out, and they're on the chase. We have some force shields, but he doesn't have enough energy. Nice! Oh, that was so close. He gets it, and he should be able to get this base as well. Great trade for Mana, but the question is it enough?
That was actually a really good win. Takes down both bases. I was afraid for him after he lost those Colossi that he's not able to withstand defensive units of Mana. But now he's being chased away, and here come the Fungals.
He wants to try to hold his ground with that Warp Prism. I think he should actually just blink out and get away.
No Fungal, no energy left. The Warp Prism also dies, and now Stefano is on the move, ahead in supply.
And he's got a bank.
Army, has the bank as well, especially in gas. so that helps him while he has to rebuild those 2 bases.
Looks like we have a small force of sentries and zealots that tried to sneak around. That was kind of a weird composition choice, but it was totally shut down.
But the fight went a lot better for Mana than I thought, especially after all those Colossi died early on. I feel like if Mana would have been able to force field a little bit better in the first engagement, there were 2 gaps for the Zerglings, he could have just moved back with the Colossi a little bit and tried to save them. As soon as he moves back with those Colossi, the Corruptors have to engage over all those Stalkers, and if he just saves 2 Colossi, they help him so much in the next battle, because Lings just become useless. Stefano would have been forced to go into additional Corruptors instead of just focusing on his ground army, and then you have something to zone out the Infestors and to make sure that your opponent can't really go into such a Ling-heavy composition. Mana was so close to not only kill those 2 bases, but to kill Stefano as well.
Yes.
And Stefano's now bouncing back.
Yeah, he's bouncing back like, I don't know, man, like a tennis ball thrown at the wall really hard. Like, that's how fast he's bouncing back. And
yeah.
Mana's got to be ready, man. He's like, I threw that tennis ball really hard, but it may come back to bite me here. He's got to shield his face because the Broodlords are coming, and he doesn't have a 4th base. The first push he had on 3 bases was really strong, really scary, like game-ending scary. But this one, with this many Broodlords with no mothership, just does not look like it has that same power.
And this is the problem in the PvZ. Suddenly the Zerg player has the Broodlords out and the Infestors to protect them. Mana now still has a bit of momentum going on, a bit of a timing, but if he doesn't end it here, then he will be in trouble.
Yeah, the Fungals here are really, really good. He locks these units down. The Roaches are not trading efficiently, but the Broodlords at the back are really doing the damage.
Yeah, we have finally a few Colossi, and they are uncontested. There are no Corruptors, but the Broodlords are there. A blink forward, and the first Broodlord is down. The second one is being transfused, but dies as well. The reinforcements are already on their way. Those Infestors, low in energy, still pushing Mana back, who is now down 30 supply. And being chased away.
Chased away indeed. More Infested Terrans come down here, and it looks like Mana, he just, with no 4th base, you know, if you look at the supply alone, it's like, well, he could blink forward under these Broodlords, maybe he could trade well, but with no 4th base, he can't make any more units.
He takes down the Broodlords though. There are a lot of transfuses going down, but the Broodlords are gone. And Mana, can he do it? This is such a close game.
This is actually closer than I thought, but with these Lings coming through, he needs to pull the Lings back, I feel, and fight with his Spine Crawlers. He's actually trading against those Colossi, maybe a bad rally there.
Mana could do it. He could really do it.
He actually could. You know, he's going to kill the Spine Crawler. The drones have to be put off the line. He still has that base mining at the top left at the 9 o'clock expansion, but Mana is making this work way better than I would have expected him to. Those Colossi are so strong.
He is fighting like a Polish lion, and suddenly the French player in trouble, but still on the high ground on 3 bases, and forcing his opponent back with the Infested Terrans. Both of them at even supply. Corruptors are now joining the battle again, trying to take down those Colossi. One is down. The second one is still alive and kicking. And this is so close. Mana could have ended it earlier, but he is still fighting. And Stefano just never gets this Broodlord count that he needs. He's trying. He might be able to do it. Now he has 4 on the way. And if Mana doesn't break through and he's suddenly faced with 7 Broodlords and all those Infestors, I think then Stefano has finally done it and got the composition that he needed.
But, man, this base to the top left is so important, because if Mana had known about that, I think he could have done some Ling run by. As he blinks up in here, there's a ton of Infested Terrans, plus the Broodlords, and even the Queen. I don't think he has enough.
Mana knows that he has to end it now, and he tries a desperate move. He goes up the ramp, blinks in there, he sees those Broodlords transforming, and he's like, okay, I have to do it now. If I don't blink up right now, he will have the composition ready.
You can just see how desperate he is to try to get these Stalkers, and he doesn't have a lot of resources. He tries to fight again before the energy is back on the Infestors, but it's not enough.
What a close timing for Mana. The window was closing and he knew it. All these battles that he fought, he was so close of defeating Stefano. It was just Stefano had a bit of a better macro here, a bit better unit control. Mana so close and such a valiant effort. It is, it's really tough to see him lose this game like this, because I think at this point there's no doubt that he can't bounce back. I mean, 4 bases for Stefano, getting a 5th base and finally having
26
this composition.
Ling follow up. He's just gonna run across the map. Stefano now has the base remade, so he's just gonna, if he doesn't kill Mana here, he's gonna build another set of Broodlords and finish the job.
GG. Stefano takes the series with a 2-0.